One of the things in the contract, funny, we had to be broken up after 5 years of being together. You don't need to be with me because you said until death do us apart.
We're basically opposite, but we can accept each other. It took me a while, coming from an Indian home. Family have certain expectations. It did come as a bit of a shock to my mum.
They worship a cow and we kill a cow.
We actually met on an online dating app. So I thought, hey, how can this beautiful woman be there?
My real personality is very secluded, introverted. So the dating app was the safest place for me. To be honest, I was looking for a white man. And there was this Indian with a terrible profile picture, constantly texting me and being a gentleman. And that's what I wanted. We communicated for about 3 months before we met. I was already attracted to his personality.
Yeah, I was blown away by her beauty. And then her personality and her confidence.
The reason why I also went on a dating app is that I'm very, very selective. And I realized that going on an app will give me an opportunity to create the guy I want. And he was all of that, except the look was not what was required. And I was wrong because when we met, he complimented his way of communicating on the phone. He was genuine, he was just who he is. And I figured, so can you grow a beard? And on the first date, we've decided that we're going to lay everything on the table. Very unusual for dates. We call it the contract. Every now and then we revisit. So things like he was wearing square shoes and I said, I don't want to see them again. And he came with this plain face. I said, I want a beard on it. He told me that he's very passionate about cannabis and I thought it was a drug. And he told me he's not going to compromise it if I want to be with him. I sing actually. And I perform on stage with like half everything. Like with the lingerie. That was a shock to him. I couldn't compromise that stage personality because it's completely different from who I really am at home, but that needs to be there. We didn't sign the contract, it's verbal. One of the things in the contract, funny, we had to be broken up after 5 years of being together, but we extend.
Just to keep longevity.
Like you don't need to be with me because you said until death do us apart. It's a thing of you choose to be with me. And that's why our marriage was mostly Hindu.
We identified we're basically opposite, but we can accept each other.
So the reason why we decided that when we meet, we're going to be together for 5 years, I came up with it. When you think you're going to be together forever and all of that, and 5 years down the line, you're starting to be unaligned and people change. Remember that you reinvent yourself every after 5 or 3 years, and you become somebody different that does not align with who you thought you're going to be with forever. Then it starts to be crisscross, very uncomfortable. And that's when an unhappy relationship begins. So we want to be able to say, okay, now we said 5 years and I've changed. It gives you an opportunity to do that peacefully with the fact that you prepared that it might happen and it might not. It doesn't come as a bomb and a surprise and it doesn't break you apart.
And I think it keeps both people working to improve and evolve. Coming up with this contract, it was a bit of a shock at first. And I thought it makes sense. We have to grow together. If one is growing and the other is not, then you're holding the other one back. So I took my time and gave her space. We had a few more dates after the first one. And then we decided to go away together. I think that's what initiated the relationship. Yeah?
We were talking for the whole night, literally, about everything we know about spirituality. But we aligned so much in different angles. He said to me, we're going to be together, but I'm going to always love my peace more than you. So there is nothing that I'm going to do that will take my peace away. I want to be with someone that I align with spiritually, knowing that I don't have to worry about you coming and invading my spirit and demoralizing my chakras. And I was like, okay, sounds like my type of guy. Straightforward, just like that. And he even said to me, I will not engage sexually until I know that you're somebody I want to keep in my life. If I see that I don't want to keep you in my life, then there's no need for me to be mixing my energy with you. And I was like, okay, cool. You'll mix my energy tonight.
So how did I introduce her to my family? It took me a while. Coming from an Indian home, family have certain expectations. Marry a good Indian woman who can cook and do these. I knew it wasn't going to be comfortable, and I was open with that to her about that. It did come as a bit of a shock to my mum. My father was very chilled about it, because as long as you're happy. But eventually my mom realized that she's creating, that Des is bringing happiness into my life. When she came into my life, I was going through a phase where I was just focusing on myself, focusing on career, and being happy with myself and peace. So then she just came in and added joy and happiness. And then my mom realized, okay,
It was the right time.
It's the right time.
Met my family, but before then, obviously, my mom worked for Indians along the lines of her life, and she thought that they're gonna make me wash a lot of laundry. Plus, I've never been very culinary, and she's always been worried about me, like, you can't cook, you don't like to do chores, how are you gonna do this? Is this gonna be a boyfriend? Are you gonna marry? Is it gonna be serious? And I was like, nah, that's not the kind of guy. My man can cook better than I do, and I'm more handy outside. I love the garden. I'm OCD in my own way, so I keep the house to our standard. But it's not anybody's duty to say, you must leave the house, you must do this one. My friends loved my man to bits. He was handsome, he was tall, he was a gentleman. He opens the door, he opens everything. He opens everything himself. And he's romantic. He buys flowers, he cooks breakfast in bed, and he's consistent. He hasn't changed. He still makes me tea and coffee every day.
Yeah, I think everyone in our family is very warm and inviting. They never ever made me feel uncomfortable. And I'll go to like events, they'll all be speaking Pedi. Then they realize I'm there and they just switch to English.
When they met me, I was just a gem.
She adapted to Hinduism and accepted it. She's actually teaching me more about Hinduism than I am.
And he goes home and he does what we call dipiri. He digs the holes during funerals. He attends funerals in the villages. I mean, it's hot. He complains about heat because he has to wear a blazer, and you can't just go there without a blazer. So that's not your favorite part, but you do it anyway.
My biggest culture shock, I was experiencing the rural area. I was witnessing my first wedding where they had to chase after the meat. I just stood there in shock. I'm like, we don't eat beef. So I couldn't understand why every afternoon they sweep the sand and then people walk over it and they sweep it again. I am trying to learn the language, but it's difficult, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to surprise her one day. She won't realize.
Well, can't wait. For my family, the cultural shock was that they worship a cow and we kill a cow. And our whole entire marriage arrangement is about the cow thing going on. And that family is like, we're going to slaughter it. And this family is like, we're going to pray to it. Hindu parts of the cultures, a woman needs to pay dowry to a man. But it's going opposite directions. For my family, it was like, but no, my husband is like a masculine man. If he's around, you don't ever have to do anything. And for him, it was like putting his family in a corner to say, look, I'm the man in this thing and I don't want to complicate it. I want this woman in my life and I'll do what it takes. The least favorite thing about my partner, it's hard to tell. I love everything about him. So there's just that little thing over there. He is so in his world, like he's in his head. I'm like a talker and I'm deep, I'm in details. And sometimes I think he switches off in the middle of it. And when I turn back and want to know, you remember what I said, he doesn't know. But he'll be sitting there acting like he's listening to me. And
he goes deep into everything and his eyes just switch off because it's not something I'm going to focus on.
He does say that. He says I must give my brain a rest. So according to him, we should be just sitting there and doing nothing.
My most favorite would be a spirit. I absolutely love it because it actually lifts me up. It doesn't matter how bad the day is or what I'm going through. Energy and a spirit just lifts me up. When I get home, it's lovely. It keeps me attracted to her. And she keeps me on my toes.
My most favorite about my husband is his loyalty. He's decided I am his woman and it doesn't matter who you are and who you're related, how you relate to him. We are a team. He doesn't play outside the team. He plays for the team. The thing is, the baby was the last thing in our mind. I just kind of automatically thought, I'm not that type. I can't be pregnant. Then we got engaged in 2020 and we got pregnant. And it was a surprise. It was a shock because we thought when we are ready to have babies, we're going to go through the processes, discuss it and prepare for it. But it happened before our preparation. Both of us are such planners. We don't like to be invaded. And that pregnancy was like, oh shit. We didn't think about it. We didn't plan it. And then boom, we lost it. It was COVID-19. And it happened that it was a heterotopic, where one child is developing in the tube and the others are on the uterus. And on the day of the operation, it ruptured and drowned everybody. So they had to all be evacuated. I think we were still in the process of understanding the fact that we are just about to be parents without having planned it. And when it happened, it was both bittersweet. And so we've decided, let's settle down. Let us plan our lives together, get married. Also, we didn't want a child out of wedlock. When we want to have children, when we want to get married, when we want to do this, everything was a plan. And so we're still on the plan.
What effect did the loss of the pregnancy have on our relationship? For me, I was more worried about her health. As long as she was safe and we can try again.
On the health side of things, you realize that you're now walking around with one tube, and will this be a problem in future when we decide to have children? We don't know yet if we want to be together forever. We just know that we want to be together for this next 5 years. Started in 2018 and we're still going. The contract is recently upgraded, so we are within the next phase of 5.
How we got married. So in Hinduism, timing is very important, about stars and planetary alignment. So there's a thing we do called opening the book. It's where you speak to a guru and they'll look at her star sign, my star sign, and when's the perfect time when all planets are together. And it was a bit of a shock because when we went, it was a choice of within 3 weeks. The guru said to us, if you're not vaccinated, you can't attend.
So our family and friends would be compromised when it comes to attending our wedding. And we went to see another guru who opened the book and found that the same date that guru said we must have a wedding is the same date we must have a wedding. So that is now saying we have a week left to plan.
The second guru said you can have the wedding in the temple. And after that, everything just came together. Like the universe just brought everyone, my family, her family, everyone came together.
Yeah, within that week. So what it means is that when they open a book is to see if your star signs align. Can you build a home together? If you cannot build a home together, they'll tell you you're not aligned. In Hinduism, they don't want to start a family that is likely to break your wedding day. It's when the stars and the moon are sitting in the correct place to bring that energy of stability in your lives. And it was a South Indian wedding because of all this profound significance that is involved in it. For us, in our culture, it was a matter of going to Limpopo, paying lobola, having the uncles and the families together, and everybody knowing my husband and meeting my husband, and then me being given the rules. And one of the rules of lobola is that you're told, now you're going to be part of that family, you need to practice their culture, you need to practice their religion, you need to prepare yourself to teach your future children their father's culture and religion and way of life. And so from then on, we moved into Johannesburg to perform our wedding ceremony, the Tamil Hindu way, as South Indian as possible, and it was beautiful.
Because it was COVID, we couldn't have everybody there. I think we were limited to like 20 people. And in a Hindu wedding, you have to have 3 married women. There was more of my family at the wedding because of the way the culture is, and not enough of hers.
The Nelengu is the day before the wedding, where they mix oils and turmeric, and all the ladies come, your friends and your cousins that are females who can come, paint you with oils and turmeric, and you just look yellow, and you're wearing a yellow sari, and that process is to purify you as a future wife. It was a fun time, but my family didn't understand it. They didn't know what it is. We don't have it in our culture. You don't do anything before the wedding, except people will come give you gifts and rules and conditions. In the process of the Nelengu, you are told that now you have to imagine, meditate, and manifest the kind of woman you want to be, because that's who you're going to be throughout your marriage life. The most memorable thing about my wedding was the dress-up part. I loved everything about dressing up, especially the flowers on my head. It's heavy, but it smells fresh because the flowers are genuinely fresh and beautiful. And I'm wearing my sari. The sari was very special because my mother-in-law bought it for my husband's future wedding.
I think my most memorable was seeing her dressed up. I just basically fell in love again. So a goddess in front of me.
Indian men love saris. It's got a special place in their heart. If you're wearing a sari, like I could walk in a mall, all Indian men are gonna stare at me. But because I have this thing now, some will be already knowing that the bindi means she's already taken. Your husband puts a red dot on you the first day of the wedding. You see, look at him. Nothing says I'm married. I have to wear toe rings. Then you must go and burst your nose to show that you're a married woman. And I'll tell you, everything has got significance. The first 3 months, you wear kumkum too. Your husband must put that red kumkum on you. Like I'm walking around with red powder here. He doesn't walk around with anything. The toe rings and nose ring is well connected to your reproductive system as a wife. And then the toe ring is connected to your uterus so that the steel somehow vibrates to your uterus, and then it gives you the right energy to conceive and do the reproductive stuff. So in astrology, there is zodiac profiles that matches with each and every individual. So in Vedic astrology, which is Hinduism most of the time, your steel will be aligned to your profiles.
What effect having a partner in media? I do remember my first time seeing her perform, and I left the venue because it was a shock. And then I realized that what makes her happy. It's important for you to bring happiness into a relationship. So I wasn't going to try and stop her from achieving her success and her goals. And she's very talented. I'm still getting to grips with doing TikToks and those type of things. I want her to grow and be successful in it. So I'm here to support her in everything that she does.
My man.
Regarding opinions, it still shocks me that people take time to put out negative comments, but as we don't listen to it, we don't let any of it affect us.
I think when you are in an interracial relationship, you are somebody who's adding so much value to the world because you're contributing in the alignment and the balance of humanity. We want to contribute in the elimination of racism. So your children will be a future generation that encourages humanity, equality, and people who understand that we all bleed the same color blood and we live under the same sky.
The advice I could give to people about interracial is about understanding and accepting, and we are just all one human race.